Welcome to ToKini and Interviews. Today I'm interviewing Kevin Abroad on his own channel. So, Kevin, I think it's your first time being interviewed on your own channel. Is that the case?
Yeah, for sure.
That's exciting. So you asked me some questions earlier on our interview. If you're watching this on my channel, please go check out our interview over on his as well, where he interviewed me. But why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here on YouTube or just in general?
Who I am. It's such a difficult question, I find sometimes, but I'll try to answer it as well as possible. So, who am I? I am Kevin, and I have the channel Kevin Abroad. And on this channel, on my channel, I try to do languages. I do videos about language learning and sometimes linguistics, because I like to sort of talk a bit about linguistics because this is my educational background. I studied linguistics. I got a master's in linguistics. Specialize in bilingualism and a little bit on second language acquisition, but really bilingualism is my drug. Then what else should I say? What do I do for a living? I teach in the evening. I do evening classes, so I teach French and Portuguese. And my daytime jobs are language conversations, so I help students practice their speaking, and also prepare them for oral exams in French in particular.
Okay,
so
nice.
Yeah, I think that's me.
Yeah, I think so. How long have you been on YouTube, by the way? I'm not sure about that.
I've done 3 years. 3 years and maybe 3 months, I think. So quite a while now.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I celebrated my 3 years with a singing video, which you helped me with.
Is that what started you? Nice.
Yeah.
Well, when you started it, did you expect it to become something like this, or did you just throw a video up for fun?
Interesting. I thought, I need to remember how I felt about YouTube when I started. I think I just wanted to do it for fun because I saw a lot of people doing it, and I was like, I think I can do the same, why not? I'll try. Right. So I spent £100 on buying this very camera that I'm using right now, and then another cheap lavalier kind of mic, and then just got started, and I actually enjoyed it. It was quite funny, difficult at first. I don't know for you, but my first video took me 4 hours in total to just record.
Just to record it?
It was so long. Yeah, I was recording, listening, recording, repeating. It was terrible. It became much easier.
How did the editing go? How long did that take you? Did you edit?
It wasn't too difficult, but actually there's something funny about this video. I had a t-shirt which was the collar, I guess, was very loose. So I wasn't naked obviously, but it was super low because of the weight of my mic, so I had to cut it. Otherwise I'd be it was so awkward. I was like, no. But yeah, the editing probably took me an hour and a half.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I think my first video
was quite fun.
Really? That's good.
Yeah.
My first video took me 20 hours to edit. It took 20 hours. And it was a bad video.
Was it the first time you edited a video?
Yes, it was the first time. So that's probably part
of
it. So it is. It wasn't your first time then? Is that?
It was my first time editing a video.
Okay. Yeah. It can be right. It's the learning curve, but it's fun.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. So right now, first question. I didn't actually have this one written down when I sent you the questions, but how many languages do you speak? Fluently or not even fluently, just to any level?
Just anything I speak, right?
Yeah.
That's the $1 million question. So my native languages are French and Portuguese. Then obviously I speak English. I also speak Spanish, although I'm more in the intermediate territory. Okay. Then I do speak a bit of Italian because I took 3 years of Italian in school. So, my speaking obviously is kind of long gone, I might say.
Right.
I can still understand it because it's very similar to Portuguese and Spanish, but yeah, there's that. And then obviously Japanese, which I started the most recently, which I'm still at a very low level, even though I've been studying it for a while, but we'll get back to that a bit later, I guess. But yeah.
Before we do get to the Japanese, I have a quick question. When I was in Spain, I was walking with these Italian guys, and whenever we go to a restaurant, they would order and speak to the restaurant staff in Italian, and the restaurant staff would respond in Spanish. At least I think that's what's happening. Is that actually, can you do that? Does that work, do you think?
I've seen it happen.
Are they that close? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it happen actually. I think I was in Seville actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Seville. And that does work. I mean, some words you wouldn't understand maybe if you don't know. I mean, the reason why I can understand Italian fairly comfortably, you know, if it goes into like sort of everyday sort of vocab, is because the grammar is very different. So even if I forgot, I can't actively produce a conjugation of certain verbs because I forgot. I can still understand because I've studied it before.
Right.
But as to for someone that doesn't have any sort of knowledge, I guess it would make sense. It would, yeah, it would work, I think. Gesture, things like that would work eventually. Pointing, very useful.
It was mind blowing. Yeah. Just watching these old Italians in Italian at these Spanish people. I was like, "Do you speak Spanish?" No, it's Italian. Okay,
it's the same thing with Spanish and Portuguese. Like sometimes Portuguese people will try to make it a bit more Spanish, but they can essentially speak Portuguese, and then you'd be sort of fairly understood mutually.
Okay.
Although I think it's easier for Portuguese to understand Spanish than the other way around.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the science behind this is, but I think it's just because the sounds, or the pronunciation is different. But
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that brings me back to, you said you've been studying Japanese. So most of my audience over on my channel where this will be playing is studying Japanese at the time. So how long have you been studying Japanese?
This is such a difficult question because actually I started a long time ago. But the thing about my Japanese is that it's on and off. Okay. Like, for example, I think my first experience of actually trying to learn was before I came to England. So that was 8 years ago. But I was trying to learn things like watashi wa kebin desu, that kind of thing.
Right.
So obviously like very basic stuff. And then I stopped because, you know, life, I guess. And I picked it up again a little bit 4 or 5 years ago. I was trying to learn hiragana, so I could write the a hiragana. So that's the first thing I practiced. Then I stopped because life got in the way. And I think I really got back into Japanese a bit more seriously with more regularity, I think 2 or 3 years ago, because I took a Japanese course, a level 2 actually. I wanted a challenge. Wow. I felt like I knew a little bit about the basics, and I just thought level 2 would be better.
Right.
And then I really got into Japanese about a year ago. For a year ago, because I started doing Japanese language progress update video series on my channel, which you've watched.
I think that's how I found you. I'm not sure.
Oh, is it?
It might have been Twitter.
How did we meet?
I can't remember.
Don't remember. That's Twitter, so funny. Maybe? I think it might be Twitter.
Maybe.
Probably, yeah. And I think the reason why, I don't know, my Japanese is not that good as well because, first of all, I do take my time a lot with Japanese. I'm not really fussed about speaking quickly. I just enjoy sort of playing with the language. It's not really sort of my goal to speak it quickly. I mean, I just focus on having fun with it, to be honest. Like just learning about the grammar, being able to read a little bit, and then build up my knowledge from there. No pressure. I don't have any exams to pass anytime soon. But also because I did RTK, so remembering the kanji. Then that slowed me down a bit because it took me about 4 to 5 months to do it, and that was my only focus. So yeah.
Speaking of that, that brings me to, I actually had that question written down. Now that you've finished RTK, how do you feel about it? What are your thoughts on RTK now that you've finished it?
RTK is quite interesting. I read a lot about it on Reddit before I started it, and people said, and I agree with them, that RTK really is a test of your motivation to learn Japanese. And I think it is so true.
It is very
because
true.
It's so tedious. I mean, I don't know. I find it fairly fun, but it's very tedious because it's a lot of repetition, trying to remember a lot of information. There's 2,200 kanji, which is a huge amount of things to learn, especially if you're not used to a language with different script. But I definitely think it's a great thing to do because I think, Adam, you might know better, but I think it's a nice shortcut to reading Japanese in the long run. And I see the benefits now when I'm reading, obviously basic Japanese. But if I don't know, I didn't know there was a word which had the kanji for window, and I assumed that was mado. That's mado. So just with the kanji, like, oh, that's window, and then I could remember the reading because I knew the word.
Right.
But the kanji with the kanji, so I could even remember the reading because I knew the word before. And I associated the word with the kanji, and I'm like, oh, that's mado. So here you go.
Okay.
So I think for early, I don't know, for beginner stuff anyway, I think there's a lot of benefit because you can understand a lot because they use very
just
basic
from knowing
words
the meaning.
Yeah, and the words of like single kanji usually, most of them.
Yes.
Like
well,
kuruma, for example.
Oh, right,
like these
right.
words. It's quite simple to pick up to get started, but I presume it gets much interesting later on.
It does, but definitely in the beginning, especially just knowing what they mean, you can look at much more difficult Japanese content than probably you're ready for, and almost pick up the meaning of it just because you know what each one means individually. You're gonna make mistakes that way, but like it still is very useful, I think. It's a grind
because
though.
For sure, yeah. But it's interesting because even if you sometimes know all the kanji in a sentence, it doesn't always help to know the meaning of the sentence. You have an idea, like it's about talking about students, people, then studying or whatever, but you don't know if it's like past tense or I don't know, I form or whatever, that kind of thing. But it still gives you an idea, so that's good. Yeah.
It gives you a push, and it definitely gives you a leg up when you actually start getting into more serious stuff. I agree. Okay, but keeping the sort of same thread going, what do you wish you knew when you started learning Japanese that you like figured out now? I guess I don't know, like before we get there, actually, why did you start learning? You said you started a lot like years ago, but I'm not sure why. What interests you in Japanese?
I think the reason was not anime, because I think a lot of people think, oh, you're just a weeboo or whatever.
Right.
No, I don't think I am. I think I definitely watched anime when I was a kid. I'm a huge fan of Naruto. I started watching it when I was 13 or something, so a long time ago. But I think I really got into Japanese when I met Japanese people while I was studying in England. And I just befriended a Japanese, she's my friend now. And I don't know, I think I was just sort of fascinated by the culture because he was someone that came from so far away from where I was. And I think that just kind of that's how I got into learning Japanese, just meeting someone that left a good impression on me. She was so nice, and I was just like, oh, I want to learn this language, which is so weird and so different from the languages I know already. And I think it kind of started as a challenge to myself, I guess, in a way. I think that's probably how I got into Japanese.
That's cool.
The script is amazing. I love the script.
The mixture of characters. Is cool. It looks nice. It's visually pleasing, I think. Are you still friends with that person?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
oh, cool.
I was supposed to see them in Osaka. Obviously, it didn't happen.
For those of you watching, and maybe you don't know, Kevin and I were supposed to be doing this interview in person in April, but that didn't work out, unfortunately. I know a lot of people wanted
next time.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, even on my channel, probably watching right now. They were supposed to be in Japan right now, but couldn't make it. So that's too bad. But
Shoganai.
Shoganai. Yep. One day. Shoganai, for those of you watching, that means nothing you can do about it. No sense worrying about things that can't be helped. Yep.
C'est la vie in French.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what it means. Perfect. Okay. So is there any, like, not mistakes you made, but just things that, like, you've been studying it now for on and off for years, and so you've sort of picked up you've learned a lot in that time, just in general, about language learning with your channel and about Japanese in general. Is there anything that you wish you knew in the beginning that you know now, especially in relation to Japanese?
I think it's a very difficult question. I don't feel like I properly made mistakes in terms of learning languages, if that's what you're asking. I think everything I've done that's taught me something in a way about the language. So I don't have any specific examples. Even if maybe I was watching films or shows that were way too difficult for me in English in particular, I still learned something from them. So both in terms of actual language, but also learning about, how I'm not there yet and I still need to make some progress. But yeah, I feel like anything is worth it as long as you learn even one word, And obviously the ratio of time spent to learn one word, if it's big, like obviously can be considered like a failure. But still, I think anything is a good opportunity to learn. And I don't really feel like I made mistakes. Maybe my mistake sometimes is something I sort of learned more recently is that, and I talked about this a lot on my channel, is procrastination. And sometimes, what's the word? giving in to the temptation of not doing something just because you mentally feel like, oh, it's too hard. But instead be like, okay, it's hard, fine. It's a bit frustrating. I don't want to do it, but I will still do it anyway because I call the shots, not my brain.
Right.
It's hard to do still. I'm not saying I just got it and I can always, go against my will, so to speak. But I find it easier now to just say, it's okay. It's just my brain feeling a bit uncomfortable. It's okay. I'm safe. Nothing's going to happen if I do 10 minutes or 15 minutes of Japanese or whatever. And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned in the last couple of years, I think.
When you are having difficulty, because procrastination is difficult for everyone. I have major problems. It's a struggle every day. Yeah. But what is something that you would rather be doing when you are procrastinating? For example, RTK reviews. What would you rather be doing then?
Like playing video games, watching Netflix. Literally, like pretty much like most people, I guess. Yeah. Anything that's sense. Not learning.
Anything that's not like that.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's weird because it's not weird. Like it's normal. I think we're all the same. We don't want to learn sometimes because it requires effort, and our brain doesn't like making effort. It's much easier to watch Netflix or do whatever, whatever else that's not to require brain power essentially. But sometimes I think it's also something to practice to be resilient. And just because you seemingly don't want to do it doesn't mean you can't do it. And that's I think that's for me that was very powerful to
building strength of mind, right? Yeah. So
exactly.
Would you just kind of say that, and this is sort of what I'm getting from what you're saying, is it's what's important is that you do it. You do something, even if you don't get a lot out of it. And I think you might have mentioned this in one of your videos about just doing 10 minutes, even if you don't want to start, just do 10 minutes. That the important thing is that you do something. Not necessarily that it's perfect or that it's amazing, but that you do it. Anything, right? For learning. Is that kind of what you're saying? You'd say?
Yeah, I think, and yeah, exactly. And when you do that, I think two things will happen. Once you will have done 10 minutes of studying, which is more than you would have done if you had listened to your brain, so to speak.
Right.
And second thing might be that actually you will carry on for more than 10 minutes because you get in the flow of studying. And that's applicable to any skills. And if you're revising for, training at work or something, that's the same thing. I think it's quite powerful. And you feel good about yourself when you've done 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
While not feeling motivated. It's great. You're like, yes, I won. Nice try, brain.
I beat myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I don't know about you, but like if I do give up and I go and play a game or something, when I was planning on getting something done, and instead I watch Netflix or I play a game, I feel guilty. I don't know. Do you feel guilty? Which is not what I really want to feel like. Whereas the 10 minutes, even if I do the 10 minutes and then I stop, I'm like, okay, at least I did the 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I don't know if you have the same thing, but it's like you've been unproductive all day while you were supposed to do, I don't know, my article reviews or whatever. And at the end, you're like, it's like midnight, and you're like, oh my God, I've got so much energy to be productive now because I feel so guilty, but it's time to go to bed, so you're not going to be productive.
Happens to me all the time.
I'm going to do that tomorrow. Ugh.
And then you wake up and you're just in terrible state.
Yeah.
It's a vicious circle, everyone. It's especially, have you found it more difficult now that you don't have like sort of a daily routine? I know a lot of people they've sort of lost their daily routine. So despite having more time, they find it more difficult to focus.
I think I agree. It's really difficult for me to be productive. I'm definitely less productive. I struggle to upload my videos on the Saturday, which I used to do religiously. Now I'm skipped a week.
No.
It happens. If it happens, I think, if you miss a day, you're going to feel guilty, but don't feel guilty. Just pick it up, because otherwise it can become a loop and you feel guilty, then you don't do it, then you feel guilty. And then it's fine. You didn't do it. You messed up for a week or whatever, or for a day if it was you're learning. Just do it tomorrow. It's not really the end of the day.
That's important. It's an important message. And it's one I need to listen to sometimes. Like I have to tell myself that a lot because I'll have wasted 2 hours that I had meant to be doing something else. And in my mind, I'm like, well, if I start now, I can only do this. So then my mind tells me, well, then I might as well not start at all. But that's not true.
That's really true. I feel like a lot of the time we have very limiting thoughts like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, it's only 10 minutes, not worth it. Well, but is it better to do 10 minutes or nothing? Like think about when you think about it, like it's better to do 10 minutes, even if you're not as productive, even if it's not as good, whatever, you're still doing something. And I think sometimes our brains try to trick us into thinking it's not worth it in the end. But yeah, it is. Of course it is. Even if you do 10 seconds, you will have done zero. Something. Yeah,
it's amazing that disconnect, because like in my mind, and I imagine everyone listening too, like in your mind, you know that 10 is greater than 0. Obviously, it makes sense. But your thoughts, as you put it, that they don't agree with that at all. It's like, nope, I didn't do it when I said I was going to do it, so it's not worth doing it at all. Like, it's so counterproductive.
And I think language learning for that is a lot of thought management, and it's a nice skill to have, like, because it's applicable to other skills as well. You know, once you realize that just because you're not motivated doesn't mean you can't do something, and then that you have a lot of thoughts like, oh, I'm too tired to do this, or like, you know, I only have 10 minutes, but actually it's all bull crap. You know, just because you're tired, you know, how many times you've done something even when you were tired, you know, you went to work because you were exhausted because you had to. So I think it's like, is that the word in English? A cop out, I think. Is that the word in English?
That's the word you're looking for,
I make things up.
Yeah.
So it's more like it's a cop out, you know, you're just trying to not do something, but you can, and you've done it before. You've proved yourself many times. For example, when you did your studies or your degrees, or when you did that difficult job for a couple of months or years, that you couldn't do things even when you don't want to do them.
Right.
So you have the proof in your life. You know,
done it a million
you can
times.
Do it. It's possible.
Yeah, it is. It's hard,
it's about,
but it's possible.
I think, managing your thoughts. I think.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's super hard. It's super hard.
Thought management. And it's amazing that you can learn a skill from that, just from something as what on the surface seems pretty simple, language learning. But language learning is it's pretty repetitive over time. There's a lot of, you know, rote that goes into it, and that can build strength of mind, I guess. That's the word I'm looking for. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And about the fact that we're on lockdown and we all have to stay home. I mean, not you in Japan, I guess, but me in England. Yeah, it definitely has disrupted my routine. So I'm much less productive. I would say my Japanese is on a stop, sort of. But the thing I'm proud of is I'm still doing my reviews every day. Like, there's not a day where I've skipped my reviews, unless one, because I genuinely forgot, which is weird because I've done it for a year now. But anyway, I forgot. But otherwise, I do my reviews every day. So I feel like at least I'm maintaining my Japanese and I'm doing something. I would feel so bad if I wasn't doing anything, because my level would just go down instantly almost.
Yeah. I think it's hard for a lot of people right now to be productive, just because it's so different. Like, and I think that's permissible, I guess I could say. Of course it's permissible. It's up to everyone. It's up to each individual to do these things on their own. But I think it's important not to be too hard on yourself, not you in particular, but even just other listeners, like not to be too hard on yourself, because we are in a very, very, very different situation than we have ever experienced. So I think it's normal to be a little lost.
Yeah, for sure. And as I said earlier, you know, if there's a day where you weren't productive, then just try again the next day, and then the next day try. You never fail unless you stop doing something. That's very deep.
Powerful philosophical stuff here on ToKini Andy today. Love it. So with that powerful message, let's go a little bit simpler. I wanted to ask you that if you were to live in Japan, where would that be? I think I know the answer, but
I think you do. It would definitely be Osaka. And the only reason it's Osaka, to be fair, I don't know many other cities in Japan, so it's not like I can compare them. Never been to Tokyo, for example, but really? I think because never did. I think it was for money reasons. I mean, not that I was poor, but it just meant that my budget would be much higher if I was staying in Osaka with my friend and then going to Tokyo with a Shinkansen. That my budget would just be way different.
Wiped out.
It would be a lot of money. And then, just because my friend I mentioned earlier that I met during my first year in England, I just went there because that's where she lived, and it's a major city, so it's a city pretty much. So it's not like like in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And I just enjoyed it. I love Osaka and the surroundings. Like the Kansai prefecture is amazing. Then you have I don't know if Nara and Kobe are within Kansai. My geography is not that great. It's definitely near.
No,
but is it
it's in Kyoto. Wait, Kyoto, Nani-ken? Kyoto-fu だね. Yeah. Yeah, it's separate, but
it's near the, let's say, Kansai
very
area
close.
region,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
And I just love the cities around it. Like, it's great, and it's the kitchen of Japan. Apparently that's the nickname.
I didn't know that.
And it's really nice. I don't know. You can ask Yuki, does she think it's the kitchen of Japan?
Have you ever heard of Osaka being the kitchen of Japan? 日本のキッチン台所日本の台所っていう日本の台所っていう It's, yeah, Japan's kitchen. She said that before. She said.
There you go.
I've been there once.
It's true.
I went there once during a typhoon. It was during a typhoon, so I couldn't do much. But the food was good from what I remember. So what is your favorite thing about Osaka then? Is it the food, or is it just all of that hard to choose, I imagine?
Definitely the food. Although it might be that the food is available in other cities, I'm not sure. But yeah, the ramen obviously is a classic. Just everything. Like, I haven't had anything that I didn't like, including natto. But I know it's not an Osaka thing in particular. But
no, apparently people in Osaka didn't eat natto religiously until fairly recently.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's very much a northern thing. I heard a story about a guy who said when he first went to Osaka 10 years ago, all his students were like, don't touch natto. That's northern people thing. Don't eat that.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
But I think what made me like Osaka the most is also this sort of, I guess, sentimental value, the emotional connection I have with it, because my friends and, yeah, I don't know, it was the first city I've been to when I went to Japan. So it has this sort of value, emotional value to me, I guess.
Makes sense. Did you ever try learning any Kansai Ben while you were there?
I only know anta. That's the only, I think, Kansai word instead of anata. Okay. Anta, that's all I know. But I need to try. I'd like to. But I think because I'm still at the beginner level, I think I want to focus more on like having good foundation or basis for Japanese, and then I can move on to the more non-standard stuff, which I'm really looking forward to start learning. I love non-standard stuff.
Osaka Ben sounds really fun, but it's hard to understand.
Is it hard for you to understand?
I'm streaming Yakuza 0 right now, and there's a part in the story where you switch to a character who's in Osaka, and I just hit that last week, and I have no idea what anyone is saying. I'm like, oh my god, it's like a whole new language. Pretty cool, actually.
What if you read it? I mean, I'm assuming you can write
maybe
the Osaka dialect.
It'd probably be a little bit easier to understand then. Like, there's things that I know that are very not stereotypical, but like hen is, I think it's hen is the nai in Osaka Ben だよね. Hen, like instead of nai, the ending, the conjugation nai. So like,
you're right.
Tabenai, it would be tabehen. Stuff like that. So like little stuff like that I can catch, but it turns out it's way more complicated than that. So
okay. So it's not like they have the same grammar, but different words for expressing that grammar.
Yes.
It's more complicated than that.
It is just that. Actually. It is that. There's just a lot more than I was expecting. A lot more things.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I had some more sort of like off the wall questions for you.
Shoot.
One of them was, okay. What is your ideal job? Ideal.
When I saw that question, instantly was creating language content, and I think I haven't quite figured it out yet, because it's so far in the future, I feel, for me right now. But I really would like to create some kind of language product, which I sort of know what I want to do now, but I need to actually put in the effort. Procrastination. But once I get down to it, I think, I would like to create a language product. I can say a bit more actually about it, but I would like to maybe do some sort of podcast, which is not going to be like a weekly podcast, but more like a short podcast, which would be one for every day of the week. And then based on, it's going to be about French, in French, for more intermediate speakers. And then every day, every week is going to be like sort of a general topic. And then every day will be an aspect of the topic, discussing the culture, but also adding specific structure so people can pick up new phrases and new vocab, etc. And just learn both about the vocab and then the grammar and the culture, like having something quite like that. So that's sort of like that would be the starting point. Then I can think of many ways how I could expand on that product. But it's something I've been thinking of doing for a long time. I need to get down to business now.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely working online would be something that I would enjoy. But I still think I wouldn't want to be full-time online, because I think I would miss being, going to having a routine of going out to go to work, essentially. I don't think being at home all the time would be the best for me, because the coronavirus has proven to me that I wouldn't be able to be that productive if I was home all the time. So I definitely want to do that part-time, but you never know. Maybe I will do it full-time eventually.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You could always get your own little group of people working around you that could turn it into work or something. Are you thinking so for that idea, just to dig a little deeper, would it be more of you teaching on the podcast or conversing with other people on the podcast?
Well, it could be so much. The idea I had would be that's one of the many ideas I could actually put in place.
Yeah.
But the idea, roughly, would be to have a 2 or 3 minute podcast about an aspect of the topic,
right.
And then with a transcript, so they can decide to listen.
Yeah.
Or read it, so they have the option, or do both, in fact. Then I would ask some questions, so they could answer questions on their own. So it's very independent. They're not going to be in interaction, but it's going to be a way of them practicing. Maybe they want to practice writing for an exam, so they can decide the topic that they find most interesting with the vocab related to it, or they can answer out loud. And maybe there could be a premium service when I actually give feedback on the recording. So I mean, there's many things I could do with this. But yeah. But there could be so many things. I can imagine 1,000 ways where I could expand that. Hiring teachers, if it's becomes profitable and I can pay people. Could become huge.
Go a long ways. It could, yeah. Gotta get to work, man. Let's go.
Yeah, and if I was doing a Japanese, Japanese sort of section, then I could bring you in. Everything is possible.
Do it. Oh, remember this, everyone. Remember this. One day you'll be able to look back and see
one day
you were on the ground floor. All right, that'd be great. So with that in mind, then, so that's your sort of ideal job. That's where you'd like to aim towards in the future. So shorter term goal, 3 years from now, where do you see yourself?
I still see myself on YouTube for sure, making videos. I don't know how and if my channel would evolve. I'm assuming it would. I feel like my channel is always kind of evolving. The content that I put out now is different from the content I used to put out when I started.
Right.
Yeah, I think I still see myself on YouTube. I think I would, as I said, like to make money online based on languages, because it's something that I really enjoy doing. Right. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm not liking so much having a boss. I think for some people that might come across as very sort of pretentious, but I don't know. I like to be my own boss, like being able to call the shots. And that's what I like about my YouTube channel, is that I collab with whoever I want. And I don't even, money is not even, important for me. The only thing I want is to be able to do whatever I want, essentially, the way I think is the best way for me. Obviously I don't know everything or whatever, but like if a collab, even if they pay me, and they give me random conditions that I don't like, I'm like, yeah, I don't need that. I've got my job already. I don't need money. I mean, I need money, but I don't need it if it's going to go against what I think is
your
right
values.
For me.
Right.
Yeah, my values. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you? I want to ask you the same question.
3 years?
What do you see yourself in 3 years, or what would be your dream job?
Dream job is definitely working for myself online, 100%.
On the same page on that one.
Pretty much the same page, man. I really, really enjoy it. I've wanted to do something online for 10 years probably, but I just could never figure out what. And I sort of started my YouTube as a way to sort of explore that, just to see like what I enjoyed most about it, and making a promise to myself to just keep going no matter what, and just see where it took me. And it ended up taking me somewhere where I've really enjoyed. So I would like for this to continue into a place where I could make it my full-time thing, because I enjoy it so much. And it's been helping people. So like if I can do both of those things, help people out and do something that I really enjoy and eat and have a roof over my head, that would be ideal. I don't even care if it makes a lot. Like if I can make enough to pay my bills, then that's what I'd like to do full time. And I do hear you about working for yourself from home. It can be very daunting, especially because if you can't focus, and I do have problems procrastinating, of course, but I think there's a big difference when you actually start, when it becomes what's paying your bills. Like that's a whole kick in the backside to like get to work, because
for sure, yeah.
If it's just you and you're the one you're not depending on a boss or a company to pay you, then it's up to you 100%. So
if you don't work, you don't get money.
Yeah, if you don't work, you don't get money. So yeah, same thing. In a regular job, if you show up, all you have to do is show up. If you have a bad day at work and you don't do anything, you still probably are going to get paid. But if you're working for yourself and you don't do anything for a month, nope.
So I think that could be great as well, because I feel like that's a nice way to evolve as well. Exactly. You as a person, like pushing yourself. Yeah. It's a kick in the butt, like you said, pretty much.
Exactly, yeah. And I've always felt the best about myself. The first thing I ever completed in my life was RTK. That was the first thing in my entire life that I ever. Well, I mean, I graduated from university, but
pretty big deal.
I guess.
Don't deny that.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. But the first thing like I just did that I really felt like was for myself, that was really repetitive and took willpower, was that. Yeah, and I was the happiest in my life when I had something to focus on and just work towards. So yeah, having that push in the back to work for myself, I think would be the ideal.
But I feel the same, as I said, completing RTK is so, I don't know, empowering, or you just feel so proud of yourself, because it's something that not many people do. A lot of people give up. And you're like, yes, I can do it. And I think that actually pushed me, like people gave up and I'm like, no, I'm still going at it. Like I'm going to do 20 kanji every day. If I wasn't doing kanji, I was reviewing, but I was still doing something every day.
Right. Working towards it.
So you feel so proud.
Yeah. It's
so bloody hard.
It is. And that's what makes it great. Like just having that little goal to work towards and push. Yeah. So I just want to keep doing that. I just want to keep having goals for myself that I keep pushing towards. And it's hard, but yeah, in 3 years, I'm hoping that this will be my full-time thing in some way or another, whether it's like what platform it's on or whatnot, doesn't matter. I mean, I already have a basically set in stone that I have a 1.5 year plan for my YouTube right now, basically, which has been set in place by me, by the amount of books that there are in Genki. But yeah, still teaching on YouTube, I hope.
Nice.
We'll see.
I'll definitely be using your videos when I get back to properly learning Japanese again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I like the way you're teaching your streams are quite a lot of fun. They're very easy to watch as well.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I found a format that sort of works out, and I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Coming back to the question for you though, on the 3 years, do you think you'll still be in Europe, or do you think you'll be over here maybe, or?
It's so hard for me to say, because I honestly thought I would stay in England for a year. It's been 7 years now.
It's the same thing that happened to me.
Right? So when you say you lived in Japan for 8 years, I'm like, well, the same. But yeah, like every year I thought I was going to go, but then like something would pull me back to Brighton for some reason. I just didn't feel like France was for me. Not so much of the country itself, but more professionally, I guess. Okay. I love France, I love my home country, but I don't know. I just feel like I had more potential maybe, or I had just more things to accomplish back in England than in France, really. Now, would I change countries? It is highly possible. I'm still wanting to go to Japan eventually, but because of the coronavirus situation, it's kind of changed things. I don't know if I want to leave my job and then maybe move towards instability, or like professional instability. We don't know. I think I'm going to wait for things to settle a bit. If it does eventually, I hope it will.
Hopefully it does.
Then maybe, and then see from there. I guess we'll see. So no,
we'll see.
It's
exciting.
So uncertain.
that can be exciting. All right, I'm gonna look at some questions really quick. We've got Dastasov says, if you need a web page or an app in that project, I'm able to contribute. Just saying. Is what he said.
That's what I like about being on YouTube. You can be just online. You can find help, or hire lots of people very easily. Like you can create a network like that, and I kind of like that.
And you get ideas from people like that you never would have thought of on your own. Just having a community of this size, it's pretty cool.
And something, it just came to me, but something I would love to do, if I ever make money online, is not just like be rich, but actually have a team of people. That's something I would love. Be able to work with people, not so much being the boss. I mean, that's not really what I want to do, but just being able, with a language product, to be able to expand it and have people coming on board, and then adding their knowledge, their expertise, and being able to build like an amazing product, using lots of different
from the ground up.
Yeah, I think it'd be so cool.
what's so neat about creative stuff like that and just building your own business like that, it's something I never did in my life before. I've never been really creative, but it's making something like that from nothing. Like it didn't exist before, and you had this little idea, and you get a group of people together, and then it becomes this thing that is really useful to people. It's just a really neat. It's really cool if you think about it on that level.
Yeah, and I think the same. I also feel like what I find interesting about YouTube is that how far can my brain take me in terms of all the things I'm producing? You know, I've done over 100 videos now.
It's nuts,
and I feel like I still have much more to do. I'm like, oh my God, like came from my brain.
Right. It's crazy.
when I want to see like how far I go, you know, in terms of what all the things I can possibly explore about language learning. I find it so interesting.
It's crazy. Like when I started, and I bet you felt similar. I was like, I got like 10 videos in me, probably 10. And then I'll run out of material. Same. 10. And yeah, 100 something. It's nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah, like it's so funny actually. Yeah, I agree. At the beginning I thought, oh, I'm gonna make a video about this and that, and then we'll see. Now I'm like, I've got so many videos now.
Exactly. Yeah. The struggle in the beginning was like, the struggle in the beginning was, oh man, what am I gonna make next week? I don't know. And over time it's become, oh my God, I have so many things I need to make.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
I always have like 5 video ideas all the time. I've got a list, like an endless list. Yeah. it's great. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. You'll never run out. So if anyone's watching and just starting out, trying like creating anything, don't worry. You'll find plenty of content to make over time.
Yeah, and even if you don't, like just being on Twitter, like, you know, reading my debates, that gives me a lot of ideas because I do, for those that don't know, I do a language debates where people can just give their opinion on like a statement or a question that I ask, and that inspires me a lot as well, and that gives me, that feeds me essentially. I feed off these comments, but also watching other content creators, you're like, oh, I like that, or you know, maybe I can do something a bit like this and make it my own. And there's so many ideas out there, like it's endless. There's no way, if I really put my mind to it, I will run out of ideas of content to produce. It's not possible.
50 years from now, you'll still be going.
Yeah, on my 5,000th video. So guys, let's do a bit of grammar.
I call a spot in your 5,000th video.
Sure, you'll be on that one.
Can't wait. All right. So I have, in case you guys watching don't know, I have a little list of questions to ask Kevin, just in case we got off track or something, which I'm more than happy to get off track. I love getting off track on stream, but I do want to know. I want to ask Kevin. I said, "What's the most embarrassing language mistake you've ever made?" And he answered here, "The finger story." And I need to know that. I need to know what that is.
I was going to comment on that because I thought the way I wrote it was hilarious.
I need to know.
Finger story.
Yeah.
So that is actually a very simple story. I was at a restaurant, and my English, it was my first year in England, so my English was good, but because I had learned mostly academic English, my everyday English wasn't like that great. I mean, I could express myself easily, you know, I wasn't like struggling that much, but some specific phrases or specific ideas I didn't know how to express properly. And I remember that a long time ago, I came across a book, which was something like English for Dummies in French, probably. And then it was about restaurant vocabulary. And it said, like, you know, you can ask the question, is this finger food? To know if you can eat this with fingers. And then what I asked was out loud, like to my friend, it was English, like, oh, can I finger this? And I think that's probably the most embarrassing thing I've said. It was like, oh my God, Kevin, don't say that. I'm like, oh, and then as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, surely that came out so wrong. But too late, I said it. And I think people were like staring like, what? And I was like, oh, sorry, I meant like, can I eat this with my fingers? And that was me trying to, you know, reuse a sentence that I had learned, but obviously didn't remember properly. And I was like, can I finger this? It was like some kind of food or whatever.
That's great.
I think that's probably my worst mistake.
So guys, Kevin's still alive and he made a mistake like that. So you surely can go out and make some mistakes. Yeah. Yeah.
I know the phrase now. It's finger food, not fingering food. It's not the same thing.
Never made that mistake again, I imagine. Oh, I'm so glad I asked. That's great. Dan says, I got ukiwa and uwaki messed up.
What do they mean?
That's a good one. Well, uwaki means cheating, like cheating on your spouse. Well, no, not on your spouse. It means cheating on like your girlfriend, uwaki. Ukiwa is, I think it is what I thought it was. It's it's like what the heck do you call those things? A tube, an inner tube for swimming.
Okay.
So he was probably talking about how he needed an inner tube for swimming, but then he said he was cheating on his girlfriend instead.
That's a bit awkward. Someone at Bob, I think, said, I'm trying to do freelance too. I guess this pandemic will wake up some desires of self-employment. I think so too. I think what I find great about the self-isolation is that because you're bored sometimes, it kind of sparks your creativity, and like you want, because your brain is so bored, you want to do things and achieve things. And I think that's how you come up with lots of ideas, and that's when you're just like, oh my God, I can do this, I want to do this, I want to do this and this and that and this and that. And it's just great, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with that.
I think there's like the internet it was already overflowing with amazing content, but during this thing, it's exploded even more. If you look around, like TikTok has a bunch of stuff from people that were never even considered being on TikTok, and now it's just blowing up with just random people who have nowhere to go.
And both our channels, I think, have blown up. Compared
quite a bit. Yeah,
mine for sure. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that everyone's home and just you know what, I'm home, let me learn Japanese, or I'm home, let me learn something about a language. So it's been,
for sure, which is great. I think it's great that people use their time to do that.
It's good. Use it for something productive like that. Cherry's Love said she was asking for, or he, I don't know, was asking for a ride home and instead asked someone to ride me. So it could be worse. That's pretty rough.
Oh gosh, that's very funny. That's kind of bad.
Yeah, that would be a bit embarrassing. I bet you remembered how to ask for a ride home after that, though.
I'm sure I've done similar mistakes before.
Probably, I'm sure.
Oh, I have another one. Oh my God, this one is sexual as well. So instead of saying, and I actually mix them up now, to say you're in my face, like you're too close to me, I say you're on my face.
It's very easy to make those kinds of mistakes in
prepositions. English. The in and on is so similar in a way, but obviously they're not the same.
No. I think with any other phrase, like any other body part, maybe even, it would have been okay, but just because that's a thing. I was on a train once coming home with coworkers from a work event, and I said I didn't want to go home in Japanese, which is kairitaku nai. And everyone died laughing. And I was like, what? I just said, I don't want to go home. What is so weird about that? And they're like, that's how you say you want to stay with someone for the night. Like, that's the only time anyone says that, is what this person was dying laughing. And I was like, what? It's literally
Where did you pick it up?
I don't want to go home. Well, I mean, it's literally just the verb go home in the tense that makes it want to. So I said kairitaku nai. So it's very standard word, but
interesting.
But apparently
it's the word kairu, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just to go home. I don't want to go home. So, but apparently that's a set phrase that means I don't want to go home. I want to stay with you. And I was saying that on a train going home with a bunch of coworkers. They thought that was the funniest thing ever. So yeah,
it's like in English, we're going to be in a sexual sort of path, but the word "come" in English is like super ambiguous as well. And I find it, even at the beginning, I wouldn't think anything of it, but now when people say like, oh, I'm coming now, I'm like, I'm so immature. I'm sorry, but like,
absolutely.
Like, okay, it's not what I meant for sure, but it's so weird.
It's like, who decided to use that word to begin with? Like, I think they were just messing around with people. They're like, oh, I'm gonna pick the most common word in English I could possibly pick for this, and then make it stick so that everyone has to say it all the time.
It's crazy, isn't it?
All right, so doesn't look like there's any more questions, so I'm gonna ask you just one or two more, and that is, most of my audience, so this is gonna be on my channel later, they're studying Japanese or many different languages. So I wanted to ask you, since you're actually a linguist, is there anything you wish you could tell non-linguist polyglot influencers? So there's a lot of them out there right now, and I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I put one thing down, actually there's nothing I'm going to talk about before, is, oh, did I forget now? No, it's fine. So I think it's something that I've learned when I studied linguistics is that a lot of people, when they learn languages, I feel they focus too much on the native content, which is absolutely fine. I think, if that's only what you want to do, I'm not judging. I'm not saying do it differently if you don't want to. But I think it's important to know that depending on the language, because I guess in Japan, it's not the same thing, but in English for sure. The thing is that when you learn a language, especially English, you're going to be exposed to a lot of non-native speakers. In fact, the majority of people speaking English are non-native speakers. People are always surprised by that, but it's true.
That's true.
Like, it's our language. It's not your language, Andy.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. It belongs to foreigners.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. And I think that's quite important for some languages. Maybe for Japanese, less the case because you don't have as many foreigners speaking Japanese, so you might not need to be exposed to non-native content. But
not right
for
now.
English, for sure, for now
you will
anyway.
be in the future. You'll need to be.
I'm sure, yeah. But yeah, so it's important to also be exposed to non-native content. And I say that because in my first year in England, there was lots of people that didn't have that nice British or American accent that I've learned on the textbooks, on TV shows. And that meant that in many cases, I couldn't communicate properly with people because I was not familiar with their accent. I'm not even necessarily talking about the extreme accents, extreme for me, like Indian accents or Asian accents, that can be quite difficult to understand, but even northern accents, which are native accents, are still kind of, no, I think I'm doing better with them now, but they can be more challenging.
They're hard. Yeah.
Even the Southern American accent, I still struggle a bit, but I understand it much better than I used to. Yeah, but I find it, I love this accent, by the way. But anyway,
how do you deal with Scottish, like southern upland Scottish people? Can you understand anyone from there?
Well, I can, but usually what happens, because if I see them, it's not going to be in Scotland because I never actually been to Scotland or Ireland or northern countries in the UK, but they will be in England, and I think usually they know their accent is strong, so I think they will use different vocabulary. So the accent doesn't bother me too much. I think I understand them quite well actually, but I remember once there was a student, I think she was Irish or Scottish, I cannot remember, but definitely a strong northern accent. And it was my French class. And I think she said, I think because her accent was so strong, I wasn't sure if she was speaking in English or French, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But because the words she was saying was similar essentially. But she says, like, instead of saying je suis en retard, I am late, I heard the word retard. And I was like, excuse me? I was very confused. I was like, and I knew she didn't say that because, the adults are not going to say retard out of nowhere. Right. Especially, in Brighton, I think in England in general, but in Brighton, like, it's not a word you want to say. That's very embarrassing for someone to be that rude. So just like, did you say retard? And I wasn't sure if I was fine for me to say it. But anyway, so I guess her accent in that case was a bit ambiguous for me, so I couldn't understand her like perfectly on that particular occasion.
Right.
But overall, I think I can understand a variety of accents. I try to expose myself to lots of different accents. Yeah.
That's a good point, especially for languages other than Japanese. But even in Japanese, like when you're in the country in particular, if you're not only going to meet foreigners who are from your country or who spoke your native language. A lot of people, especially on Twitter, actually forget this. There was a big argument that happened. There's always arguments on Twitter, way too many. Talking about this earlier. But there was a thing where a news company during, I think it was the typhoon, they released a tweet that was all in hiragana. And people were freaking out, saying, why didn't you just write it in English if you were going to write it in simple Japanese? And the best retort to that was, what makes you think that all of the people who are reading this news in Japan speak English? Like, not all foreigners in Japan are English speakers. And just towards that point, there's been lots of times I've met people in Japan who were either, for example, Filipino, from Thai, or from other countries, India, who spoke better Japanese than they did English. So we communicated in Japanese, and they were not native speakers of Japanese. So yeah, it is important, I think, I agree, to get exposure to other types of other accents.
But I guess for some languages, it might be fine to do that later on. Like Japanese, I guess your priority is not to be able to understand non-native speakers. But for English or French or Spanish, it's possible that it would be with people that have an accent when they speak.
Definitely English.
And another thing that I wanted to add as well, this is super controversial. I always get crap for it, but I really don't like when non-linguists, and by linguist, I mean someone that studied linguistics academically, has done research, calls themselves linguists. maybe I'm just bitter. I don't know, but I think it's ambiguous because then one example, I don't want to name it, but I'm just going to be what's the word? Vague about it. Okay. But yeah, there's a person. Let's sing on too much. But yeah, they self-proclaimed linguist, and they hate linguistics. I was like, what? That made no sense. And I get that in the dictionary, you know, linguist is someone that speaks multiple languages and also someone that does research. But I don't know. I really wish people would find another word because, yeah, it would be the same. You know, a scientist is not someone that reads or likes to learn about science. Right. Someone has a degree and works in science, right? I mean, linguistics is
the
science,
exact example I was going to give. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a physicist.
And I just think, exactly, yeah.
I like to read books about physics, so I'm a physicist.
I'm a physician. Physicist? Oh, is it physicist? Yeah.
Physicist, yeah.
So,
it's insane.
And I don't know, I just think it's just a bit strange to me. You know,
I would
as
add
a linguist
to that
as well, I can't you know, impose definitions because that's not the job of a linguist. But I still have my thoughts. Obviously, I'm human. I've got beliefs.
Well, I think the important part about it is, or an important point to add to that is that you need to, like, people who are watching, you got to be careful about who you're taking advice from, because I think what the problem is with it is that it's basically false advertising. It's saying, hey, I'm a linguist, so I know without a doubt what I'm talking about because I study languages professionally, is what that means to me. Like, I studied languages in school. I do research. I probably publish papers. Like, you know, I know what I'm talking about. And that's what that word implies. It's got a lot of weight to it, more weight than a polyglot even. Like, if you tell me you're a polyglot, then I'm okay. You can teach me how to speak your language, probably. Maybe even you can give some advice. But if you start saying that you're a linguist when you're not, and you start throwing out things like, oh, this is useless and that's useless, and that's what those people are usually doing. They're usually saying, this is useless and buy my thing. Then
that's the thing, because like, I think the way I know someone is a linguist or not is because something we train to do. I mean, I say I'm a linguist, but obviously I don't have a PhD, if you want. You know, it's not like I've got all the expertise in the world. So, you know, I try to be humble when I say I'm a linguist still. And any linguist would be humble anyway. The way we trained is not to know things so much. I mean, we know things, but I guess the way we do research is you can never say, oh, I proved this, or I'm going to show that, or I found this new thing and this is for sure how this works. That's not possible. No linguist with proper training could ever say that. That's just such poor practice. Because you can never say, even like, yeah, it's a science, but it's not the same like as, you know, like sort of medical science. Even then, you know, there's still lots of gray areas, but it's not like, I don't know, chemistry, for example, is a bit more straightforward. You know, this plus this does that kind of thing. But linguistics, it's so hard to say for sure that something is the case, basically.
Right. But even in general sciences, like, there's lots of things that, yes, you can say this plus this will cause this reaction, but we don't know why half the time. Like, yeah, it does this, but we don't know why, nor do we know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, there's no absolutes, really, I don't think, when you're coming to science like that. So,
yeah, for sure.
It's good advice.
Even more, because language is it's not something you can touch or manipulate as such. So that makes it so hard to prove things.
And it's always evolving.
Yeah. And in theory, you could only prove a language fact. Yeah, exactly. A language fact if you manage to study literally the entire human species, and in a very specific timeline, you know, because as you said, in 10 years, something could change and that just throws off your results completely. Obviously, that's impractical. No one can study everyone.
Right.
That's just impossible.
Impossible. It is impossible.
Yeah. So the only thing you can do is like try to show like evidence towards something that's as sort of, I don't know, what's the word?
Theory.
Firm you can be. Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, you try to demonstrate things. And it's not so much that, you know, you can't, I think linguistics can be quite frustrating because you can't prove anything, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that we can't have some sort of understanding of something.
Right.
But it's sort of in the middle. That's why you have to be humble. And linguists shouldn't be saying things like, do this, do that, because they can't. That's just poor practice.
Right.
You can only say, well, I've done research and it seems to me that based on my research, it seems that this happens, or, you know, that kind of thing, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So if someone tells you,
language,
so if someone tells you guys, this is the best way to learn a language, they're probably not a linguist.
Based on science, sometimes.
Based on science. Oh my God. No, probably not.
Yeah.
Based on my individual personal experience and maybe one of my friends, is probably the correct answer in that situation.
Yeah. And whenever I read an article and they're like, oh, linguist or scientist, I've proven this, I'm like, I'm stopping reading. I know it's not. I mean, it might be that it's done by real linguists, but the article is going to be biased too. Right. It's not going to be like neutral enough.
And they're probably trying to sell something.
Exactly. Yeah. And to be fair, like saying something is fine.
No, that's not the point.
Because eventually we'll sell something. I mean, I hope that we both will. But I think what I hope to do is to be transparent. I'm like, this is just a way, I don't have any other sort of agenda than to sell something that I really think is helpful.
Exactly.
But it's not going to be the method. I think it's very important to be open to that.
I am actually selling something right now on my Patreon, and I hope I'm very clear about that. Like, because you signed up to my Patreon, you are not magically going to become fluent in Japanese. It's not that. It's just some helpful material that I think will be helpful, and it won't help everyone. Like, there's nothing that is perfect for everyone, and that's what I think is most important with language learning. You got to find what's right for you.
That's very important. I think that what you said. I think as a content creator, and probably product creator eventually, I think it's okay to just accept that you can't help everyone, and it's not the point. I think it's better if you sort of kind of more specific, you have a specific audience. So that's why my product, I won't target like beginners and like advanced learners. I will have to sort of decide and narrow it down a bit.
Right.
Because I think, you can't do everything at the same time, especially one person. Maybe later on I might, if I've got a team or something, but not now anyway.
No, you gotta start somewhere. And and if you can make something that is useful for people, then you might as well. But it's not going to save the world or make every single person perfect in the language. It can just, it can help maybe.
Yeah, I'm not going to prove anything ever.
No, no, of course not. Nobody will, I don't think. All right. So that's pretty much all I have to ask you about. Maybe, I mean, like I've said a couple times, like most of my audience is interested in probably Japanese in particular. So like, I think we've pretty much covered it, but do you have any advice just for complete beginners, someone who's just looking at all of this material in front of them and they don't know what to do? They're like, oh my God, there's so many words. There's kanji, there's this, there's that. I'm lost. Maybe I just will give up. Like, do you have any advice for those people to close this out?
Well, on that specific thing, I think it's about accepting that it's going to be difficult sometimes, and that's okay. I mean, there's a point in your language where you feel obviously more comfortable and you're less and less exposed to difficult situations in terms of understanding the language or, functioning in the language. But I think it's important early on to get used to being in uncomfortable positions. So not like, uncomfortable, like more emotionally, it's not like super uncomfortable, don't put yourself in dangerous situations, but it's because it's going to be part of your journey, like throughout. It's always going to be uncomfortable. Like you're always going to be in a situation where you don't understand. It's super frustrating because you wanted ice cream, but they gave you a waffle instead. I don't know, whatever. But that's part of, that's how you can learn as well. But you're always going to be in situations where you don't understand people. Sometimes, even now, sometimes someone talks to me. I'm like, I have no idea what this accent is. I can't understand it, or I can understand like 5 words. But I think it's okay to be in difficult situations, and I feel like the more you accept sort of similar negative emotions, the less power they have as well. If you just know they're going to happen,
embrace them.
Like when something's difficult, I'm like, oh, difficulty, hi, nice to meet you.
I remember you.
Let's spend some time together.
Yeah,
and
embrace
that's
it.
Just like, you embrace it literally. It just loses its power. Here you go. Difficulty. Here you go. Sometimes I can't pronounce English words. It's terrible.
I mean, me too. If we're being honest. It's me too, man. I'm native over here.
Like the thing I never can say fluently is the third thing. I find it so hard to say.
The third thing.
Because it's not like the third thing. Like I mean, I can say it if I slow down. The third thing, but the third thing, like
the third thing. It's a little bit of a tongue twister there.
Yeah. But the other thing I also made a note of is that talking about difficulty, like even if something is difficult, it doesn't mean you need to stop. Something being difficult is not you failing. It can be if you're really doing something way too difficult. If I'm a beginner and I try to watch a documentary about science in Japanese, obviously I'm screwed. I'm not going to get anything out of it, right?
No.
But even then, I could still learn some words. Why not? Maybe,
Yeah, maybe.
I'll learn the katakana words, right?
Right.
But I think just because something is difficult doesn't mean you have to give up. It might just be that, well, maybe you should do it later. That's possible as well. But I think what I'm trying to say is that just because you feel negative emotions, and that's something I really try to talk a lot on my channel, doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. I think it's okay to embrace difficulty. And that's why oh my God, I hate people that say language learning is easy. It's so not easy. And no, it doesn't have to be fun all the time. I mean, in my experience, it wasn't always fun. Like, in fact, sometimes it's so frustrating, but that's fine. Right.
No, it's not fun, I don't think, a lot of the time. It's fulfilling. But those are different, very, very different. I also get a little frustrated with people who are like, "Ooh, here's the easy way." It's like, do you really want to go the easy way? You think that's going to work out?
And also, I don't think that's a good marketing tactic. Not that I know tons about marketing, but I feel like if I expect a product to be easy, as soon as I feel something negative, I'll be like, yeah, this product doesn't work.
Right.
Like, it doesn't work in their favor, I feel. No, so I don't know. Maybe it does, I don't know.
It's good short-term marketing, very short-term. And maybe if you have an amazing product on the other side of that short-term marketing, it might last, but it doesn't build trust, that's for sure.
Yeah. I wish brands were just more honest with their products.
Be nice.
Like I don't think it's a bad thing as well. Like, I understand why people don't want to say anything negative about themselves, because you have competition and stuff. You don't want to come forward and be like, well, this product is nice, but we suck at teaching reading. I don't know, something like that. Obviously, you wouldn't say that, but you can phrase it in a way that, this product is mainly for, reading, for example, or listening. So it's not going to teach you fluency, but it's going to help you with your reading. And that's fine. That you just, what's the word? You just own up to the fact that this is what you can do. You can't do everything. No. And that's it. Like,
and anyone that tries to do everything is going to probably fail miserably.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. That's good advice. We got pretty deep today. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you for being on my channel, and thank you for having me on your channel. I mean, I'm on your channel right now, but this conversation will be on my channel later. So.
Well, that was with great pleasure.
Yeah.
Very interesting chats.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you were the first person I interviewed as well. So that's, you must feel special right now, right?
Yeah, I do. It's awesome. Exciting. Thank you.
All right.
Do we have any other questions, guys? We'll give you like a minute or two. It's fun in the sense that it can be interesting and entertaining. Yes. I mean, there's lots of fun stuff that can happen in language learning. It can be very fun, but there's going to be days that are not fun. It's going to be a grind.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like you should always be not fun, obviously, I wouldn't say
obviously.
that. But it's just accepting that sometimes it's going to be a struggle. Like RTK, I don't want to do it every day. Like, I'm so over RTK, but I still do it because,
it helps it stick.
It shows my resilience, and I know it's good for me. It's like vegetables.
Right.
You don't always like them sometimes, but you still know you need to eat them.
Right.
I mean, I love vegetables, so that's not a good example for me, but you know what I mean.
If you're aiming for things to be fun all the time, you're going to meet with a lot of disappointment in life,
Yeah.
There's parts that are fun, and there's parts that are going to be hard, and that's normal.
Yeah. And we've achieved, everyone has achieved so many things that weren't fun, but they're happy they did it.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Studying, working, whatever,
Pretty much anything worth doing is going to have some difficulty in it, I think. Well, make sure you subscribe to Kevin's channel. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this. And check me out too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.